American-born Nancy McKinstry was appointed CEO of Wolters Kluwer in September 2003. Her key challenge? Restoring autonomous turnover growth, and she has quitted the task admirably, for McKinstry has turned Wolters Kluwer back into a healthy company. After years of disappointing results, turnover is growing and there have been hefty investments in technology. We spoke to her about fostering new leaders, the future of print media and the issue of whether Wolters Kluwer is big enough to survive as an independent player.
Yeah, we actually think we have more than adequate scale. We're also the only information provider in the market that actually has a balance between North America and Europe and Asia. So if you look at our revenues, about 50% come from the US and about 40% from Europe and then 10% rest of world. And that provides us with a great platform to go forward in being able to really distribute and create products that have a worldwide application. And one of the trends you see going on now in some of the markets that we serve is that things are really moving global, that there's sort of global accounting standards that have emerged. There's global corporate governance standards that are emerging. So all of that gives us opportunities to link together what we're doing in North America and Europe and Asia. So we have more than adequate scale in terms of our size, but also in terms of what I would call our geographic footprint. Yeah. And that gives us opportunities to grow. And, it's my own belief as the CEO that as long as we continue to grow the business and generate shareholder value, that we will remain independent. I would say the single biggest cultural shift was around getting our employees to really think about the customers first. We had been what I would describe as a very product-centric company. So if you were working for us, you associated your employment with a product. Yeah. And now we want our employees to associate with a customer group, whether it's a doctor or nurse or lawyer or accountant. And the reason we needed that shift to occur was that really our strategy now is to bring our customers a full product suite of applications, whether they're in print or online or software applications, that all work together to provide the customers with a solution. Because I think what's clearly changed, I entered the industry back in '92 when I first joined CCH Publishing in Chicago. And from that time until today, I would say the single biggest thing that's occurred is that customers really want a solution. They want the answer. They don't have time anymore to really necessarily go out and do a lot of research to get to the answer, so they want help from us as an information provider to say, get me the answer as accurately and as quickly as possible, and then help that answer be embedded in what I do in terms of my own work to really help their productivity. We also have launched in the last 12 months a capability around talent management, and what that is involved in is really grooming the next generation of leaders. And so we have identified our high potential employees throughout the world within Wolters Kluwer, and we're working very much on developing both programs for them, but even on an individual basis, making sure they have the right career development so that they can step in to leadership roles. And that's very important for us because for a while we were having as a company to really always reach outside when we had a major role come up within the company. And so now we're able to fill a substantial portion of those roles by internal candidates as well as external candidates. What's changed within the education world in the last 3 years is that you finally see electronics emerging in the market. And if you compare that to, say, the medical market or the tax and accounting market, those other markets are much further along in terms of our customers using electronic tools in their daily work. Now you see the same thing happening within education. So what that means is, the division is, as I say, at a tipping point where scale is going to become much more important in, say, the next decade going forward than it was in the prior decade. So we felt this was a great opportunity for us as a company to say, what's the right future for that business in terms of alternative paths going forward. So that's the process we're underway with, and we remain committed to come out to the market in the first half of '07 and communicate our recommendation for the business and what the future might look like. What we thought, I think, if you had asked me this question back in the 90s, I would have said that it was generational. Once the next generation kind of took over in the business world and the medical world, that you'd see this shift towards more and more online. That hasn't really happened. Clearly, there is a shift to online. Clearly, that's the future. That's the fastest growing part of what we do. But print is still being used even by the next generation. And what we find is that people select the media based on what they're doing. So if you're at a patient's bedside, you might pull out a book you have in your pocket, or you might pull out a PDA and look up something on the PDA. If you're doing more in-depth research, you might go online because it lends itself very much to accessing a lot of different sources of information. So the choice of media is more being driven by what you're trying to accomplish and what the occasion is versus by age or generation. So I still see a very strong role for print. It is obviously a fact that there aren't a lot of senior women in large corporations, but it has not been something that has really been a factor at all. And I have to say, I've been quite proud of the management team and the way that we've all pulled together on behalf of Wolters Kluwer to really focus on the strategy. And that's much more important. I mean, the ability to motivate employees and get them focused on what we need to do is far more important, frankly, than anything externally to us as a company. Yeah, I think there is a different style, not so much between Holland and the U.S., because I actually think that there's more commonality than differences, but I think between other countries in Europe and the U.S. style, I think there are a lot of differences. I think that in the U.S., there's more a focus on you set a common goal and people instinctively drive for that common goal, and there's a bit more of like, okay, we're all going to work together and get there, and it's very explicit. I think in other countries, I'll give you an example. I think my experience working with our French management team, it's a bit more subtle. You have to sort of look for other clues about how people are thinking about solving a problem, and it may not always be articulated that you're going to do A, B, C, D to get to the solution. It's more a feeling of trust and kind of communication to work your way through that. And so one of the things I've learned is that one solution does not fit every culture within Wolters Kluwer, and so we have to be able to set common goals as a company, but then allow our managers to figure out unique ways of reaching that goal.